All right, fellas, guys, and gals, welcome back to the Raised Hunting Podcast. And we are here with our two special guests, Special 1, Special 2. And so,
got upgraded.
Yeah, that's because you still haven't gotten your name tags.
That just means that you're more special.
Well, you can look at it that two ways, you know. I mean, just depends on how you want to look at it. No, but anyhow, we are back today. Warren was just making the comment, and I agree with him that we're going to talk about turkeys today, but it doesn't feel like turkey season. I mean, I don't know about most of you in the country, but up here in Iowa and farther north, it is winter.
We also have about a month for us.
Yeah,
in Montana,
April,
not Montana.
April 12th, I believe it is. Or
yeah.
Whatever that month.
What's the day, the 14th or the 15th? So just under a month.
So just under a month. So they'll get warmed up, you know.
Is our season always open that late?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
But next week we do have our first hunts starting.
Yes. And those will be a little chilly.
Yours will.
Mine will be. Yours won't. Easton's headed to Alabama to do some turkey hunting, and I'll be headed to Nebraska. Warren's going to hold down the fort. So.
Yay. Oh,
yeah.
I've had to do it too.
Whatever.
I had to do it last year with you guys.
Is there anything specific on turkeys that we're talking about here?
Yeah.
What?
Shot placement.
Shot placement on turkeys. With a bow and with a shotgun?
I think pretty much archery.
All right.
I don't think we need to go over it with a gun. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Well,
No,
I'm pretty
that's
sure
not
I
true.
can just go back to my office because this is I'm not much value in this podcast.
Yeah, no kidding. I agree
You're
with
the
that.
best. You're the best representative. You should learn. If we learn from our mistakes, you should have learned more than anyone about shot placement.
Well, that's the problem.
I would
I've
say
been
he's
over
not
and over
learning.
and over it.
I guess so. All right. Well, that's what we're going to talk about is shot placement on turkeys. So, and we've got a little diagram here for those of you that can see this podcast. It would probably help. But I think we can explain it pretty well too.
Yeah, we'll try to break some of this down in videos and stuff too, because I think what's going to make this podcast interesting is, and I'm going to just start referring to it as your theory because it is
Nobody
your
else
theory
talks
originally,
about
and
it,
I
really.
can't seem to execute it. So I don't want to be a hypocrite, but your theory on where you should shoot turkeys and why you should shoot them there is quite a bit different than what most people do. And one, I don't know that I feel like there's a lot of I've seen it work. Like when you do what you're supposed to, the way that you teach it, it works phenomenal.
Right.
But I think the other thing with that is all the videos I've seen on turkey shot placement, I feel like it's kind of all over the board. Like people are like telling you to shoot them in the wing butt. Some people are telling you, you should hit them high, they die. They're telling you to shoot them right behind the wing butt. They're not necessarily. Definitely, I don't think there's a unanimous agreement on where to shoot turkeys.
I think if you really want to break it down, there's pretty much three main ones. You have, well, I guess in ours, the third one might not even be all that of a main one because we're kind of on the opinion of not that common. One would be shooting them in the head. Number two would be shooting them higher. I guess if you, and when I say higher, I'm referencing where we normally aim. So above their drumsticks, more so in their direct vital areas.
Mm-hmm.
And number three would be what we're referring to as in the shiny spot, shooting them in the top of the legs through some of the vitals
Corner
if
of
you
the
do
wings.
it right. Yep. And so I'd say those are your three main ones, assuming it's a broadside shot. But outside of that, there's tons and tons and tons. Like some people don't shoot them when they're broadside; they only shoot them facing them or facing straight away, or all sorts of different things. But I think those are probably our three main ones we'll go over.
Well, I think the interesting thing here would be to start is one. Can you show us where exactly the heart and lungs are?
Yeah.
I mean, I know I've got an idea, but I don't know.
But hang on,
Like
I think we back up a little bit because you guys just made two.
And we need to be thinking that people are listening to this, so we need to be trying to describe.
Make sure that you can describe that
Yeah.
you can visually get a visual on it. Well, here's the thing: is I don't think there's an argument on straightaway. No, nobody argues about that. That's a great shot, and when they're straight away and you're about a half inch below where all the tail feathers come together, which puts you going up right up their rear end. That's guaranteed to go into and through the vitals of a turkey. Now, you could still lose that turkey, meaning because you're not taking out wings or taking out legs. I have yet to see anyone that we've shot through that, but we've only had that opportunity a couple times is all. But every one of them has died right there in place. They didn't go anywhere. So I think it's a good shot.
Have you ever seen anybody get a pass through from shooting them in the bunghole?
I have not, but I'm not saying that you can't.
Well, because I wonder if they can't run either if that arrow's stuck in them. Like from at
I
that
bet
angle,
they
I would
could
think
run, but I bet that would be excruciating pain.
it would depend on how much is out of them. Because like when they put their tail down and everything, if that arrow's out even 6-7 inches, it's probably dragging on the ground.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm thinking of 3 or 4 times that we have done it, and all of them have been executed perfectly. Turkey was right there. Now, if you shoot left or right, you're in for going just right down their side, and you're not going to kill them.
Well, it gives you a reference as far as penetration from the front. The one I shot last year with Dad, was that I had, because it was facing me at 4 yards or whatever, shot him right above the beard, and that went in. I can't remember if
All the
I had
way
about
all-
this much hanging out the back end or if that much was
No,
hanging out.
I think you were like almost buried to the fletchings.
Yeah.
So you had probably 25 inches of arrow in
and
him.
But it stopped him right there, but did not go all the way through.
What
And that-
broadhead were you shooting?
That was one of Dad's
One of the
NAPs.
three blade.
Your
It was
Reverse opening, yep.
Rear expanding, yeah.
So I guess that's where I was going next. Was I think there's a total agreement on facing straight away with a bow and arrow. Everyone, there's only one place to shoot them, and that's right up the rear end. Now, if they're not strutting and walking away, it gets tough. You gotta
shot one like that, haven't you? In Idaho.
In Idaho.
The Idaho bird, he shot straight away.
I know.
Yeah.
We've killed a couple where we've taken that shot.
Yeah, that one was kind of quartered away.
Yeah,
But
that's a
pretty
tough
much.
shot.
It's a very tough shot
when they're
because
not strutting.
basically you got to be above the tail, and then you have to kind of visually find the vertebrae, their back, and you're trying to go right up the center of the turkey, that way. It is a very difficult
it's
shot.
kind of
in my opinion.
imagination because there's so many feathers. I mean, a general reference as to where it's all at. but
Right.
You don't have like a great leg to follow
No,
up like
you
a
don't.
shoulder of a deer or something.
No, not at all. And then let's flip the turkey around and then have him facing you, and depending on how much he's strutting, you're somewhere between the wattles,
Yeah.
the red part of the turkey for those that can't see. I mean that we don't have it.
The
just listening.
bottommost colored part of their neck, the
Yes.
little big balls that are on their neck. Those are the wattles.
So you want to be between those
If they're in
and the
full
beard.
strut.
If they're in full strut, and between that and the beard, you don't want to be any lower, because if you shoot lower than the beard, then you end up going through the bottom of the turkey and you probably don't kill him.
and you cut the beard off.
And you could cut the beard off. I mean, so
What
that
about half strut?
half strut, kind of the same thing. It lowers a little bit. You still need to be at that beard.
Probably like right on the beard,
The-
pretty much.
Yeah, the one I shot last year, I mean, I'm right on it. And
Yeah.
the one in Nebraska,
Yep.
and he was dead in 20 seconds. Again, it's not my favorite shot because I'm not guaranteeing. And so with that being said, okay, but then the third one, before we get into the broadside shot, because that's going to take the most time. So we agree on the front, or we agree on the rear. Everyone's in total agreement. I think there's a little bit of adversity as far as up and down on the front, but it's basically right here. And so then 3 is the head. And the problem that I see with the headshots is if they are not broadside, we have actually seen broadheads bounce off of a turkey's head. I know that sounds crazy, and yours is the best example that I can give. You made a great shot on a turkey, hit him right square in the top of his noggin, right in the white part of his head.
Like right there for people that can.
But he was
Freaking Iron
facing,
Man helmet.
but he was facing you, and we watch and we went back in slow motion, and the arrow glances off of his head, and we did not kill that turkey.
But however, none of the ones that we've shot in the head were with the whopper choppers, like
Correct.
guillotines, which
Are designed for the head.
yes, and so then this was, I guess, just us not knowing. We didn't think that it'd be that hard to. Figured if you hit them in the head, they're just going to die.
Yeah.
We now know that's false information.
Right.
Unfortunately, I think we've verified that twice.
Yep.
Yours we found still, but it wasn't like he didn't just
Die,
drop
right.
right there. We had freaking, what do you go, 80 yards or
Oh,
100
no,
yards? something like that?
150. Because remember, I didn't find him till later on that day.
Right. So if you're going to shoot him in the head, you'll hear everybody say, that's the great thing about headshots is if you're going to shoot him in the head, they're either just going to die right there or you miss clean. And we now know that that's not the case. So if you're going to shoot him in the head, you either need to make sure you hit him in the wattles or you need to be using a a whopper chopper.
Well, or come up to, can you point, Warren, because it's too far for me, in the blue and what, right where the blue and red meet each other. That's the meatiest part of the head. If you can put an arrow right there, he's dead.
And I think the issue you have there, especially when you're doing that with an expandable, is that there's such little surface area that it doesn't have the ability to really even open. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you're basically shooting them almost with a field point now that you think about it, because it can't open until it's hitting them. So I think, do you think that there's more turkeys that get shot and lost, or more deer that get shot and lost? And to make this, I don't know if there's quite as many turkey hunters as there is deer hunters. So let's just make this even, as far as, let's just say that for every 100 turkeys that are shot with a bow, how many are lost? And for every 100 deer that are shot with a bow, how many are lost?
I don't know what that number is, but I would say this, and I say this all the time, every seminar I do. I consider a turkey a big game animal. That's just, I classify them in with the deer and elk, because the way we hunt them. And they're the number one per number of people hunting them, because granted, deer is going to be more because there's more deer hunters and there's more deer. But per capita, let's say, there's more turkeys lost that are killed with a bow and arrow than any other big game animal, in my opinion, in the North America.
I would agree with that.
And what happens is guys are shooting them through the feathers, and they're going through the body, or they're going through, if you hit them in the guts or something like that. But you're penetrating the turkey, and then they run or fly off. And once they do, the chances of finding them is, I don't know, 1 in 30, 1 in 40.
If they fly.
If they fly, I'd say you're 1 in 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to find them when they get their wings under them.
Well, you don't have blood like deer.
Correct.
I mean, at least typically. They're not near as big as a deer, and their color probably doesn't help them either.
And they'll get into the thickest stuff they possibly can, and you'll step on them, walk around them. I can give some examples that just blew my mind. One of the first ones comes to me and you, Nebraska, and you shot 2 jakes, and then I shoot that tom, and I don't get both legs. I only cut one leg. But even when we only cut one leg, we typically find the turkeys. They still can't fly very well. They can't get going, and they don't land. And I would use your example. We've even had one where Easton shot one's foot off.
Yeah, that's bad.
And we found that turkey. I mean, it was just a bad shot. It just didn't hit him where he was supposed to, and it cut his foot, just his foot. So just envision, for those of you that can't see, right above the
spur.
Like his ankle, I guess, but below the spur.
It's in the knuckle, kind of.
Yeah, but it cut it slam off. We didn't know this at the time. We just knew that he shot low, but the turkey I could see was struggling to go, and we ended up finding him again and shooting him.
And for everybody listening, that'll make more sense on why we're talking about that here in a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you guys find the foot to that turkey?
No.
We did look.
We went back and looked. We didn't look for it at first because we didn't know that's what happened.
I don't know how we didn't find it, because you'd think it would have been right there.
Was it a clean cut?
Yeah.
It seemed like it.
Well, we looked at it, I was like, no way that actually just went through that and cut that completely, clean. And when you look at his leg, it's like,
sliced it off.
it looks like just a freaking hot knife went right through it, and perfect.
So, but that one comes to mind. And then the other one, though, going back to you and I in Nebraska, and I shoot that bird and I take out one leg. I mean, I'm up in the thigh part of it, which is real close to what I wanted to do. We're looking for that turkey, and I just remember the one time, we had already jumped him once, and I don't know if you remember that, but he was laying in grass that couldn't have been more than 8 or 10 inches tall.
Yep.
And me and you walked within feet of him, not yards, feet, 10, 12 feet. And all of a sudden he gets up, and we didn't see him. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. How in the world did that bird hide in this little bit of grass? And so that's why they're so difficult to find. The other one is Mom shoots a turkey in Idaho that time.
Yeah,
and it pitched off the mountain and landed in the top of a tree. And just so happened I could see him. And so Mom went to get you guys, because you guys were hunting another area, to come back. And I'm watching this bird now for 3 or 4 hours in the top of a tree. And I can see him wobbling whoa, I'm losing, because she hit him pretty well, but not good enough to kill him. And I don't know how in the world I ended up seeing him sitting in that tree, but I could see his head. Watched him for 3 or 4 hours. I don't know if you guys remember. I think we left you on the hill. so that you would be able to see wherever he went. And then the three of us went down to kind of circle the tree and get on the ridge so Mom could shoot him again. And as soon as we spooked him, as soon as he saw us coming, he tried to come out of the tree and he just fell like a helicopter, just boom, right to the ground.
Where did she hit that one?
She hit him right a little bit back. She was behind both
And he
legs.
was broadside?
He was broadside.
Okay.
And but my point with that is, if that bird had died on the limb, you're never finding that turkey.
Or if you hadn't seen him.
What are the
That's
odds
what I'm
of
saying.
that?
I
Right.
mean,
Unless you got lucky and walked underneath him and he tried doing the same thing,
Yep.
and then you'd probably hurt him. Honestly,
Yeah,
I
imagine
think
walking, looking on the ground for a turkey, and all of a sudden it falls on your head.
well, we've
comes
even
flying out.
Yeah.
So
I know we've said that before though, where we've had situations where we've hit turkeys. We call them turkey rodeos,
oh yeah,
and that we were actually, I mean, for ethically, we want to kill the turkey quick and fast, but we also want to be able to find them so we can eat them and utilize what we've harvested.
Right.
And I know that we've been kind of somewhat hoping they were alive because we needed them to flap their wings or something.
Right.
You need to get close enough to spook them to try and find them. Because if you're just looking for a dead turkey and you don't have really a very good idea where they went, it's freaking hard,
really hard.
really tough.
And a dog, you can't do like what you would do with a dog, because they typically, especially if they flew, dog has nothing to go on until that bird lands again, and you have no idea where they landed. So if you're hunting hilly area, it's even worse, because then they can pitch and just coast, you
Well,
know,
that's the
and
issue
go a
with
long
shooting
ways.
them almost anywhere. Because if the whole premise behind shooting where we shoot them is taking their legs out,
Absolutely.
and if you're shooting them on the edge of a hill or something, as long as they can take 2 steps and get off the pitch off the thing, then they don't need their legs. So you run into the issue both ways. But
Yep.
if you're like around here, there's hardly anywhere for them to pitch off of something unless they actually go. We don't hunt like
Real
Idaho,
steep hill.
like that
yeah.
was stuff where they could pretty much jump and they'll catch.
Oh, yeah.
They'll catch wind and they can fly wherever
They might
want.
they might be able to trip and stick their wings out and freaking coast.
So what ended up happening is what led us to where we're going here, and that is many years ago. I don't know exactly what year it was, but I had shot some turkey. I had now killed a turkey or two with my bow. And one day I'm turkey hunting again. A bird comes in, and where I would shoot them back then is I was trying to hit them right in the wing butt, or just behind the wing butt, to go through the heart and lungs of the turkey. I'm looking at which are
The anatomy.
So you're
Which-
saying the heart and lungs sit right behind the wing butt, or
correct,
like
Yep.
back here?
No, right by, because you don't want to hit that wing butt. If you hit that wing butt, I don't care what you're shooting. We've seen that as well with a bow and arrow. It'll bounce off. It'll you might stick in there, but you're only an inch of penetration. It is as hard as any bone in a
I wonder if you
in
could
a
get through
deer.
it with a
whopper chopper.
Fixed
no.
blade.
Less likely to get through anything
Yeah,
on
with a
that.
fixed blade. I wonder if you could get through it.
And we're calling this a whopper chopper. Is that even the correct name for what this is? Or
I
Well, I think
Warren
there's
just calls
several-
the guillotine is the only one that I know.
Warren just calls them a whopper chopper for fun.
Okay.
Everybody knows what it means, though. I
Right,
think.
so that everyone understands, just to clarify that when we say whopper chopper, we're talking about something that is designed for a headshot, and usually they're like 4 inches of cutting diameter across, so that
It's
you.
excessive. Like
Yeah.
shoot at 10 yards,
The
if that.
I was
I
gonna say
went and bought
20.
some
I think.
Whopper choppers last night. So, and the poor lady, the lady at Shields checking me out, she's like, "What is it?" She asked questions like, "Oh no." She's like, "Wow, these are big. What is this for?" And I was like, "You really want to know?" She's like, "Yeah, this goes on an arrow." And I was like, "Well, the intention is to cut a turkey's head off." And she's like, "Oh my gosh."
Sometimes it's better not to ask.
Yeah. Well, anyhow,
I don't think a fixed blade's going through that wing butt either. Not,
I
actually,
don't-
I'd
I feel
put
like
a
I feel like it
significant-
might, because I think I hit
I'd
hit
put a
that
significant
Jake
amount
that
of money
time
on it.
in Nebraska in the wing butt, I think, and I was like
There is no
12.
think.
I'm pretty sure it was right in the wing butt.
it's just a tough spot.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not really like a really dense piece of.
Right.
I guess it's on a bird. It's not even bone. It's
Well,
cartilage. Right.
For those people out there that have not shot turkeys with their bows or have limited a time of hunting them, do not underestimate the toughness of a turkey.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they are
times it by 10 compared to a deer.
they are
Pound for pound.
unbelievably built to take it, you know, and the wings are designed and everything to just kind of collapse, and so they absorb a ton of energy. So anyhow, I'm hunting Montana one time, and like I said, I'd killed a couple turkeys now, and I kind of figured out where to shoot them, and that was, you know, I'm hitting them right behind the wing itself, or the wing butt, and trying to hit them right in the heart and lungs. Well, I shot low on this turkey. And when you shoot low, you can come down and Warren will point out where the shiny spot. That shiny spot is that big copper band that Warren's pointing at right there. And what we're talking about is on any turkey, Eastern, Merriam, it doesn't matter, a Rio, they all have that copper colored band on their wing. And when they're at full strut, that copper colored band, the front corner of it, the front third of it, let's just say, maybe it's even a little less than that, maybe it's a quarter, the front quarter. The front quarter is directly in line, if they're perfectly broadside, with their drumsticks, with their legs, the meaty part of their legs. And that's where my arrow went through. And it didn't go all the way through. It went through, and the fletching was sticking out about 7 or 8 inches on one side. The arrow was sticking out on the other side. And this turkey flipped over and flopped and did all kinds. And so I'm like, well, I think I got him. But at that time, I'm running out there just like you'd shoot him with a shotgun. You take off and you run out there. You don't want him to get away. And I run out there and I grab this turkey by the head and I wring his neck and got my turkey. It wasn't until I went back and looked at the video that I was like, man, that did some damage there, you know. And I thought about it and I was like, this doesn't make sense. That why would this shot? Because it was low. Now it still went through the inner part of his carcass, so I still went into some vitals. But the blood was what really, holy cow, there was just a gob of blood at the bottom. Like that, if I hadn't ran out there, the turkey probably would have been dead in a minute, you know, but I was out there in 10 seconds, if that long. And so what ended up happening is I started aiming at that spot. I decided I'm going to try this and see if this works. And I had lost a turkey or two already, just like we were talking about where I'd shot one, and I'm like, man, I should have killed this turkey. I don't know why.
What broadhead were you shooting at that time?
At that time, I was just shooting a regular mechanical broadhead, like a Rage or something like that. I hadn't figured out where. Now I'm specific on what I'm shooting.
And did you hit that one in the top of the drumstick or in the center?
Right in the center of it.
Okay.
You know, and I mean, he didn't go anywhere. And so then I started doing that on purpose. I was like, okay, I'm going to shoot him there. And even though that was well off of where a 3D target would tell you to shoot them, and 22 turkeys later, I have yet to lose one. Now, fortunately, I had made all my shots were good too. I had hit where I wanted to. I wasn't missing. But there was a couple where one leg was forward or backwards, and I didn't know that, and I didn't get it through both legs perfectly, and I was still finding them. And that would be one like me and you were talking. I mean, the turkey rodeos suck. Don't get me wrong. They suck because I don't like to wound anything. I don't like to see any animal suffer. But at the same time, when I see that leg broken, I know we are highly, highly good chance we're finding that turkey.
Or at least you'll be able to shoot him again.
You'd be able to shoot him again, you know. And so, but the whole goal was, and still is, to keep them there on the scene. Even if I have to wring their neck, at least they're there. I don't lose that turkey. And so once I started doing that, we came up with I kind of coined the phrase, I guess, of shoot them in the shiny spot. And so that's what I started doing. And still to this day, last year, in Nebraska, the first one was straight on. I had to shoot him, the first one that I shot was on the decoy, and he was right where I needed to. No video. Eli didn't hit the record button, so we couldn't show that one, you know, but he made it. He limped away about 30 or 40 yards, and there he was. And then the second one I shot, same thing. He came in, and that one, though, I still don't understand because he actually walked off a little ways. But if you remember, that's the one that just kind of clumps over.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I should have shot him again, and I did not, thinking he's dead. So that would be my other tip to people. If you can get another shot at the turkey, take it.
Oh, turkey's double tap.
Put all.
Do not give them a chance.
Yeah, don't think I don't want to mess up any more meat or whatever. put another arrow in them because the more arrows, the better. And the more arrows that stay in them, even better, because then it keeps them from their equilibriums off. They're not a very big animal. You're only 20-some pounds.
So walk us through real quick why you believed that hitting them you switched to this technique and hitting them in the top of the drumsticks and not necessarily possibly shooting for the vitals was more efficient than just putting an arrow through the vitals.
Okay, well, and because what happened was I also hunted with some other buddies, and I watched one that I felt like he was like crushing these turkeys. And I'll use his first name, Jim, and Jim shoots. I mean, he's hitting them where he's supposed to, yet they're taking off on us, and we're in Montana. And so when you talk about hills and stuff, we top a hill, and there's no turkey there. And sometimes we even had snow on the ground and blood. And and we got a video camera. We can go back and look at the shot. And arrow went clean, like perfectly through where you were talking about, that should be textbook on a 3D target. Yet we don't have a turkey. And then we get to the top of the hill, and we now figure out he had to have flown from here because there's no more blood, there's no more tracks, it just disappears. We got really lucky on one of them, and he, like you were talking about, he starts flapping. He was dying, and so the last thing they do, kind of go into that like crazy flap. And this bird is 400 or 500 yards away from us, uphill, and he's flapping around, and we found him. I don't know if he had done that. Now, we would have probably been looking, but it was in the afternoon. It was maybe 30 minutes before dark. I don't know if we would have found him that afternoon, had to come back the next day and continue to look, and we might have lost him to coyotes.
Right.
But anyhow, so I'm watching people shoot them, including myself and my buddies, and we're shooting them where we're supposed to, but yet we still are not keeping the birds there, and we might lose them. And the one, like I said, the one that I shot where I go through both drumsticks, he was there. 22 turkeys later, every one of them was on the scene. I never lost sight of them.
So basically you're saying that they were hitting them where they needed to. If it, just like a deer, hit them in both lungs, and let's just say they only made it for a minute and a half, they were able to get 400 or 500 yards or travel a significant amount of distance, and then without blood and stuff, like, or at least the amounts that you have with deer, it was very difficult to recover them.
Absolutely.
So they were killing them, but they were having a hard time recovering them. And you discovered a way that basically
I could
you
recover
kill them
all.
and recover them, and they can't go anywhere.
Yep.
I thought you had a streak of like 30.
Well, I'm just saying
22 is
20,
pretty freaking good.
20
I'm not saying
22 in a row before I had to chase one, before I messed up and I had to go find him.
Okay.
And then I got like cocky and decided I would try to, let's see about head shooting some of them. And once I did that, I missed a couple. So now I've gone back to shooting them in the wings. I mean, shooting them in the drumsticks in the wing, and then just make that shot perfect. But like I said, I will not shy away from a straightaway shot. It seems like the straightaway shot is tough because they never want to get that way because the way we set our decoys, they're always either facing us or quartered to us or broadside. And then the biggest, toughest thing about shooting them with a bow is someone understanding when to draw. I mean, we just had a buddy 2 years ago that his first bird, I'm getting ready to go hunt with another guy that's never shot one with a bow. And so I look forward to that because it'll be fun to help them, but I understand how much help they need because a lot of times those birds come in and we're not shooting them very far either. 10 yards is like a long shot. I actually have moved my decoys out a little bit. We used to talk about having them at 5 or 6 yards, and we've pushed them back to like 8 or 9, only because I felt like we were getting so close it was hard to breathe, and
Yep.
So we backed them up a little bit. And so now, and that's the thing that you need to understand. Wherever you put those decoys, that's probably where your shot's going to be, right there. And so if you put them at 20 yards, you're making yourself shoot 20 yards. And 20 yards on my hand is even bigger than their heart probably, or my fist, probably half that. And I would say the shiny spot that I'm talking about is probably somewhere the same size as the vitals. Because you think about the drumstick of a turkey, and it's oblong, but it also kind of goes, I don't know, I know people can't see it, but it goes back and then forward again, and if you go through any part of that and cut that and break that, I mean, the other thing is just like shooting a deer, no one's going to teach to shoot deer in the ham, But if you hit them in that femoral artery, they bleed like crazy. Well, turkeys have the exact same thing, and so there's a ton of blood that comes out of there.
I think going off my last year's experience, if I can get a
Frontal
facing,
shot.
I'm taking that every day of the week because he dropped right there in his tracks and died within like seconds.
Right.
And he couldn't go anywhere. Granted, I don't know how much room there is for error with that shot because I put it right where it needed to be. It's kind of hard to miss at 4 yards. But, well, I guess I say that and then Warren over here. But in my opinion, that was the only one. I would love to test that, I guess. Keep shooting him right in that way and see if it's that foolproof because it was like perfect.
Yeah.
Like I was 100, especially where that situation was at. He could have just ran 10 yards backwards and pitched off the hill and gotten somewhere. And I was 100% expecting no matter what, I'm going to shoot this bird and he's going to be able to get somewhere and dropped right there. I would do it again.
What I think back on is, I'm not picking on you, Warren, but I remember when we were in Montana.
It's okay. There's a lot of subject material for me on this.
Well, and the bird that came in that you shot him, and he's vocalizing. I'm listening to. I got headphones on,
Which one?
The first one in Sydney.
Okay,
when we went over to Sydney, and this bird comes in, and Warren's like,
oh my gosh,
right in the shiny spot, right in the shiny. He's talking out loud. I'm like, the kid's on it, right? And
he
the bird
didn't do great in school either.
Well, the problem was you weren't letting the bird get broadside.
I actually hit this one in the shiny spot
every time.
The very first one though.
Arrow.
No, remember the first one I hit in the shiny spot, and I had 2 tags.
Right.
The second one was such the fiasco.
Right.
Yeah, that's because the first one. If we go back and look at the video, I hit that one pretty much where I was supposed to, but I only got one leg.
Yep. And we found him.
Yes, but
Yep.
then the second one. Go ahead with the story.
So then the bird comes in and he's like right in the shiny spot, right. But he's saying this in a right in the shiny spot. I could tell he's extremely excited. And the bird comes in and he's facing him, and then slightly quarters. And as soon as you could see that copper band, boom, and it was through the shiny spot in his tail, and it went out and hit the ground. And the bird didn't know what was going on, so he climbed up on the decoy, and he sticks his head through the tail feathers, and he's pecking on this, and Warren knocks another arrow, and he's like right in the shiny spot, right, and then finally gets another and zips it. So even though you're shooting, the thing I love about the shiny spot is it gives you a reference of where to shoot, and it gives people an aiming point
when they're broadside.
When
they're
broadside,
self-explanatory, but they got to be broadside to shoot them in the shiny spot.
I ran out of arrows.
Yeah, you had arrows sticking in the ground everywhere.
There's a video of that bird stepping
over the
one of my
arrows to get back to the decoy, and then he's asking me, now what do I do? And I'm like, what?
You're
Nothing,
out
of arrows. What do you want to do? So it was fun though, But my point in that is, that's the other thing. The shiny spot is clear. And hopefully anyone who's listening today, where do we have any place for anyone to see the Vital Zone turkey that we made that can point out?
Not right now, no.
I'll talk about it in my seminars, but we should probably build a video.
That's what Nick and I were talking about yesterday. Well, I think let's dive into maybe I'm the person to answer this because I'm the one that seems to have the issue with it. Why do you think that shooting turkeys is so difficult for people?
I think I just said that a minute ago, and that is, it's not a white-tailed deer has a clear leg to follow. An elk has a clear leg to follow. An antelope has a clear leg to follow. Bears get a little touchy because they get big and black, and boars, I think, could do the same thing if they're really big. But you still can see the leg and follow up, and you're right behind it, and so it's a clear. They're all similar. Turkey doesn't have that, and so I think what people find is all of a sudden this bird comes in, and then when they blow up, and they're strutting, and they're all blowed up, like a friend of ours nicknamed it. It was awesome, and they get all blowed up. That you don't realize that sometimes there's 8 or 10 inches of nothing but feather on their back. It looks like
like the amount of actual bird on this whole thing is like basically like that right there.
Yeah,
is about it up to his neck.
Yeah, there's not much.
Nowhere near as much bird as you would think is there.
And so it becomes very difficult to pick a spot.
And I think that's my problem. Is like, one, I wonder if this whole theory, I mean, yes, I understand somewhat the vitals are kind of there, but I think this might have come from deer hunters looking at this as like right behind the shoulder type deal,
right.
and just overlapping it to turkeys, because Easton said that he called it last year and he was correct. That second bird that I shot last year here in Iowa, the one that
I'm trying to remember.
we found him a little bit later.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
he had came in perfect. I shot. He turned and quartered two a little bit, and I definitely put it more forward than what I should have. And Easton was like, "You shot that turkey as if it was a deer," which is exactly what I did.
Right.
And that's really hard to explain, to visualize for people, but I can subconsciously shoot a deer without having. I don't have to think. If that deer takes a step and quarters away more, I don't have to think, oh, you need to aim further back now. I just do it. I just know where to aim. Turkeys, I don't have that capability. And the other problem for me with turkeys is they fire me the frick up. Like, I get messed up. They're
like an elk.
Yeah, turkeys and elk. I think that's why I have such a hard time, because turkeys, everything else I'm pretty good. Turkeys, as we all know, that's why everybody's making fun of me. I have a hard time hitting turkeys well, and I think is what it is where like elk and turkeys both do that to me. Deer don't get me near as riled up. Turkeys and elk mess me up. I think elk though are I know I'm so limited, like one shot, it's like, Warren, you can't screw this up. So you got to calm down and focus so that you make this happen. And where turkeys, it's kind of like, there'll probably be another shot in a little bit, and then they just get my heart going and I just lose everything. So I think that for what I'm going to do, I think this year my solution to try to solve this is going to go one of two ways. One, I'm going to try whopper choppers first, because I do think the one that I did shoot in the head, I think just not having to think about all of that and just simply putting my pin on the head is going to help me a lot. Now, my concern is that I'm hearing all of these horror stories about getting these things to fly straight. I'm hoping that I can screw them on and shoot them at 10 yards and be fine, because I'm confident we can get turkeys to 10 yards.
Right.
But what I'm hearing is you got to crank your bow out, you got to have a super stiff spine, and all this other stuff, which I really don't want to mess with my bow that's shooting great for turkeys. And then my arrows, if you have your arrows set up properly, they're not over the shelf.
Right.
So I had to get longer arrows to be able to even fit whopper choppers on there. So I'm praying that I'm going to get really lucky and be able to just go out and get
I'll say this in your defense. I think per times we've called in turkeys, you have more pristine, perfect shots than anyone I know of.
Oh.
I mean, like, I remember the one day hunting right by the house, we went over and the Jakes came in first, and then here he comes, and I'm like, okay. And at this point, you're already having a difficult time. You shot some turkeys and not killed them, and I'm like, okay, Warren, take your time.
I've never not had a difficult time.
Right? I mean, as far as getting a perfect shot, you don't have them hang up at 17, 18 yards or 20 yards. They come right in, they stand there, and
yeah,
it's got to be a mental thing.
I don't know,
because you like the one that the best part wasn't even the hunt. He called one in. Well, me and him both called it because we were both calling, and called this bird in right under that windmill by Dad's house.
Yeah.
And it comes in freaking perfect at like 8 yards. And I'm filming, like, this is a chip shot.
Wait, when was this one?
Like 5-6 years ago. This was your 8th miss in a row, because I was scared for my life when you missed. Because I didn't do anything, but I thought you were going to kill me.
That's not the one I launched over the cliff?
Oh, that's the one you launched over the cliff.
That was a hard shot.
It was 10 yards.
No, that was the 3 that were like 20.
Walking in.
I think you're thinking of the wrong one.
But either way, they came right on in,
on
and he launches, like, not even close. Like, I'm watching, waiting to see an arrow, and almost miss the arrow because I hear it go off, and I don't see it go even generally close to the body. And Dad goes, well, did you guys find your arrow? And Moore goes, no, I freaking launched it off a cliff, Dad. I'm not going to go look for an arrow. And he did. He launched probably like 500 yards because it was over a cliff.
That one was actually a hard shot. But
I disagree. They're under 20 yards.
But that was after I'd already missed like the 4 or 5 that came in and everything else. Like, that was a really rough year. So, like, when I'm saying I have a lot of misses, I have a lot of misses. Miriam's for a while there, I was doing okay. I don't know what the difference was with Miriam's.
I thought you could cross the Nebraska line and you're good over there.
He was
That's what
until he
was so
packed
weird.
the recurve.
Why? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
but that's a totally different bow. Have you tried it without that?
Miriam's?
Like, have you killed one since you tried it with your recurve? Yeah, Miriam.
Not a Miriam, no. But
I think
the
it'd be
Easterns,
fine.
the one I shot that one bird 3 times.
Which one?
I ended up killing him with my shotgun. The very first one I killed in Iowa, I hit him
Oh yeah, you
one
mean,
time, hit him another time. Me and you called him in right next to the house.
Yeah, hold on. Make sure that someone understands. This is not all at once. This
No.
bird kept coming in different times, and we didn't know it till you killed him
Because when we
because
breasted
he
him.
had all the holes in his breast.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I shot him twice.
Is that the one that we shot in the rain?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I had shot him 2 other times and then killed him with a shotgun. Because that's usually what would happen is I would go and usually I think I had to miss 2 before I'd go buy the shotgun tag. And then I'd go kill one out of frustration every year for several years in a row. So my alternate that I'm going to do this year, if I can't get the Whopper choppers to fly, because I'll be really curious. I think if the Whopper choppers work, I think I'll be good. I think it'll be interesting to see how I do. But other than that, if that doesn't work, I think I'm going to make myself shoot either a back tension or a hinge. And I think that I'll be curious. I think that
Because it make you focus on the correct spot.
it's going to make me slow down.
Yeah.
Because for turkeys is the one where I have that problem. I think that it will make me not be able to freak out and just, and shoot really fast. And it's going to make me take my time and pick where I need to aim. So that's my alternate option to see this year, and I can report back to everybody once the season's over.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to extremes to see if one can kill a bird.
It will be interesting because
It's a problem, dude. It's a problem for me. Like, I'm being just 100% honest. I have a
don't
hard
get
time.
The whole, because it was for a while, and I don't even count the recurve because that was a whole nother story. That's a whole nother type of bow to try to learn. But I don't understand the whole Iowa. It's like Iowa. Because you get out of Iowa, you're fine. You kill birds left and right. But you get back in Iowa, and it's like take bets on the amount of streaks that he's going to go on and missing. But then put him out of Iowa, and he'll kill every bird that comes in.
I don't know.
I had some in Montana, too, that were rough.
It's okay.
yeah.
The best shot I ever had was the one that we all killed as a family. Looking back, that was an unbelievable shot.
Where are you
I
talking? Which
shot
one?
that Jake in Montana, in the
One where
northwest
you
part of
Where
Montana.
Mom made the joke about packing the sink and everything else in your pack.
Yes, and
And you're itching
you
your
guys
belly
you
button.
guys were sitting behind that that wheel looking deal.
Yeah.
That
Oh
wooden
yeah,
wheel
you
thing.
guys
As a
were in the
cable.
blind out in front of us.
Yeah, and that bird came into something. I think he caught me drawing and was walking away at 20, and I managed to stick it right below the back of his neck. And
Dropped him like a rock.
yeah, that was probably the best turkey shot I've ever had,
Yeah, I don't.
or the luckiest. It's one of the two.
Well, I think it's a huge topic to actually talk about because I think that it's a growing thing. There's more and more people are trying to shoot turkeys with their bows, and I think you just need to understand. I mean, because if we want to talk about shooting turkeys with a shotgun, okay, put it on their neck and pull the trigger. I mean, the target itself that they provide for you to practice on. But that's something that you got to do is shoot that shotgun and make sure that it's patterned correctly so that you know how many pellets you're going to put in. Because I would have never guessed that I have a H&R 20 gauge single shot, and then I have an 870 Remington Wingmaster, and then I had for a long time I had a what the heck was it? One of the camouflage baked ones. I can't think of what it was.
Camouflage baked.
Yeah, it's like baked. When they first came out with turkey gun specific, it was a shorter shotgun, Mossberg. And I had a Mossberg. I never killed a turkey with that Mossberg. I missed more turkeys with that thing, and yet my 870 slam dunk. But I can put my 870 up against that 20 gauge, and that 20 gauge will outshoot it when it comes to but it's the right loads in it.
I would definitely make sure you
20
pattern
gauge
it because I did not pattern Joey's very well. And that poor kid he hammered it and it died right there, but
Right.
he was eating lead for a while.
Yeah.
He's like
at Joey's was?
at 10
Oh
yards.
yeah, he pummeled the body.
What was the pattern?
He hit it low, like he hit it like in the bottom part of its neck, but there was like the entire bird was covered. I think the issue with that one was because it was his shotgun, which he has an 870 as well, but he didn't have any of the other chokes for it.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty sure, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was the widest possible choke that he had.
I would
'cause
say
that's all,
so.
Shooting a modified
that's
or
all
improved.
all he had.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, we'll make it work. And I
Luckily, it
didn't realize
was
it was
close.
going to be covering that much. Like, because
I killed
he
a
still
turkey
jokes about it. But
at like with Easton at like looking back, I thought it was like 40. Now it was probably
dude, that was a
60
50 or 60 yard shot with that same 20
with
gauge.
that 20 gauge.
Yeah. Oh no, you put number 5 shot 3-inch magnums in that 20 gauge, and it will put. It seems like it puts 50 pellets in there at 30 yards.
Oh, I
you
was
know.
sitting there behind you like, holy cow. Because I was like, is he really going to shoot this thing right now? Because there ain't no way that shotgun's reaching that. And I don't think you thought so either, because he couldn't come in closer. And I just hear boom and dropped the thing. I was like,
It didn't. There was a ditch in front of me.
Yeah, they
so it
couldn't
didn't
get any
look that.
closer.
I didn't think it was that far until I stood up, and then I was like, "Oh wow, that was a lot further."
Oh,
than I
see,
thought.
where my angle, I could tell it was a long. I'm like, no way he's shooting it that far. And even if he does, it's gonna like bounce off of the turkey and he's gonna go running away.
My best shot
Dropped
with a
him right
shotgun
there.
was calling for another guy that I didn't know him. I met him through a hunt club. I'm 19, maybe 20, and I gotten heavily into turkey hunting in Virginia. And this guy said he wanted to go, and then his turkey calls didn't even sound like a turkey. And so I was like, well, maybe I should do the call, you know. And we walk around all morning, and we get to this spot, and in Virginia, noon was the end of turkey season. I mean, of the day. And it was like 11:40, and we're walking back along a power line, and I yelp a couple times, and turkeys answer. I'm like, heck yeah, man, they're coming. And so we set up, and we get all set up, and so I'm calling for him. So he's sitting like 10 yards in front of me, and we have no decoys or anything like that. I'm just sitting against a tree, and here comes this bird, and there's 3 of them. There's 2 Jakes and a big Tom. The big Tom comes first, and so he's sitting in front of me. Turkeys are coming from left to right, and I watch them walk right past him, and he never shoots. And then I realize he's still got his gun sitting on his lap. And I'm like, what the heck? Well, they keep coming, and they come past him, and as they come past him, I'm thinking, I'm going to try to shoot a turkey here. Problem is I'm right-handed, and they're going to my right, and they're now even with me. And so the third one is back as, you know, like, okay. And I remember I shoulder my gun left-handed, and I'm going to try to do this, and I can't do anything left-handed. And I'm pretty sure to this day I got my right eye down on the gun.
What the heck?
I
And
thought he was gonna say at least closed his right eye.
no, I can't do that. I cannot close my right eye. It doesn't work. I got to put my hand over. I can close one eye. I can close my left, but I can't close my right. So I
You
get
can't
one.
Close your right.
I can't close my right eye and keep my left eye open.
Try. What the frick?
Can't do it.
Like a mental student.
How does that work?
It does not work.
Some people literally cannot
I
blink
can do
both
that.
eyes.
Yeah, I can do one. I'm doing my left eye,
That makes no sense.
but I cannot do my right eye. So anyhow, as this bird's walking away, he's at like 45 yards now, and I'm like, with the wrong eye, boom and boom. I killed a Jake. I was like super pumped, and I'm apologizing to him. He's like, no, it was all good. I couldn't shoot him, and I'm like, so that was my best shotgun shot ever.
That's
None of them will top Alyssa's.
No, Alyssa's was impressive.
The one-handed 12 gauge at
What did she do?
She shot a turkey with a 12 gauge
with one hand.
with one arm.
How?
Yeah,
Like she was like gangster shooting turkeys, man.
Why?
Boom.
Because she reaped this bird,
Yeah.
you know, and so I told her, I said, okay, because she was like, I was like, okay, just crawl out there. We couldn't get him to come, right? I was like, just crawl out there with the decoy. I'd put the reaper right behind the blind and just go, you know, kind of don't go right at him, but go at him, and he should come. And she's like feeling the ground. She's like, what do I do? I'm not going to be able to get this into the ground. And I said, that's fine. Just let him get close, and then just drop it and shoot him. Like, you'll have a second or so and just shoot him. And she's like, no, I don't want to do that. And like, he's like going away. I'm like, just get out of the blind and start going at that turkey. And so she's like, oh, I was like, just go. And so she starts going, and he comes to like 30 yards, and then he like puts his head up and putts once. And she's like 50 yards from me. So he's about to go, and I tell her, I'm like, shoot him. And she doesn't do anything. I'm like, shoot him. And so she won't.
Yelling while the birds are
Yes,
there.
you hear me on the video yell at him, at her twice to shoot him. And so then she won't drop the decoy. She pulls the 12 gauge up with one arm and freaking shoots him and drops him.
Could she at least shoulder it?
Yeah, she shouldered
That's
it.
good.
I'm telling you, it was
That's
one arm,
impressive.
12
It's really
gauge.
impressive.
It knocked her on her butt. But
Well, I'm sitting there trying to think, like, if she just picked that thing up and literally held it out and shot it, I'm like, that thing probably blew right back in her face.
imagine trying to shoot a 12 gauge like this, though. Just
Oh, I
one
know.
arm.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
nuts.
It was impressive.
So
But
That's
so
funny.
anyhow, when it comes to a shotgun, it's pretty simple. You know, you want to shoot them right in that neck and head, and
I
try
think
to-
the only other thing we should make clear real quick is broadhead choice
Yeah.
for people shooting 60 to 70 pounds, and broadhead choice for people shooting 60 or less, or maybe even 55 or less.
yeah, I was going to say because Mom has shot several turkeys with expandable broadheads at like 55 pounds.
Yeah, but
But-
there's a difference in our expandables.
Yes, and what I try to tell people is you don't want to shoot the best broadhead on the market, the one that everyone is shooting at deer, because you're going to get them to just, especially if you're the guy shooting 70 pounds. If you're shooting 60 to 70 pounds, you are probably going to blow through a turkey pretty quickly. You don't want to do that. You want that arrow to stay in there. You're wanting 8 inches of penetration, 8 to 10 inches of penetration, and that arrow to be stuck in there. So we started shooting, and hammerheads are the ones that stick out to me. There's several different companies. NAP makes one in the Spitfire, I think it's called. I think that's what it is. But SICK still makes the hammerhead. That used to be Rocket. And what they are is, instead of envisioning like a meat seeker that SICK makes, or SICK makes, or a Rage broadhead that is a slip cam, it slides back. We're looking for
Flips
something that flips back, that the front end goes back. And what that does is takes away some of the inertia, or it hangs up in those turkeys because there's all of that material and everything in there. So picking the right broadhead is a super, and I'm looking for something. I'd like to have 2.5 inch cut. The more cutting diameter, the better I can get.
I think if you're getting under like 55 pounds too, you should be shooting a fixed blade.
Then you got to go to a fixed blade.
Yep.
Because
I've learned that experience the hard way.
Yeah, and we've had that with Alyssa and Mom as well.
Yep.
Probably. I thought, I was hoping that they did make it. 'Cause I was going to tell, I know we'll get a lot of questions on the broadhead. I don't see SICK on here, or see that one.
the hammerhead,
I don't
Yeah.
think they do make it still.
they're not making it anymore.
I don't think
That
so.
thing hasn't been made for years.
Well, what I did was bought a whole bunch of them off of eBay, like a 50 pack bag. They didn't even come in a package; just came in a bag, and just held on to them.
Yeah.
And I still
You
have
still
some.
have some.
Mhm.
That was like 10 years ago.
Oh yeah. Well, when you buy, I think I bought 2 bags for me, and I bought a bag for Mom that were a little smaller. Those.
Yeah, you did. They did have 2 sizes.
Yeah, one size was a little smaller.
Yeah, but so moral of the story: reverse opening.
Reverse opening
broadheads
broadheads
helps with a lot.
helps a ton.
Yes, sir.
But other than that, and if people have questions on the shiny spot, maybe we can post a picture. Or if you're going to be, they won't hear this before Spring Thunder, but I'll go over shooting them in the shiny spot at Spring Thunder. And then look for videos. We'll continue to put stuff out on YouTube and stuff like that, because even though it's different, I know of a few guys that questioned me on it. Were like, I just don't know, but I'm going to try it this year. And they've recovered their turkeys, and so it works really, really well.
I'm trying
yeah.
to see if Trophy Ridge possibly still makes it. I saw there was still actually a few left on eBay, it looked like.
Yeah,
But
you can
I think you can really, I mean, if you just look up, just be sure that it's not, if they have it listed right, a rear expanding, like we said, flips back, not slides back, like a slip cam.
Right.
So if you just look up, I've even talked to guys that have found cheap ones on
Yep.
Amazon,
Yep.
and just, you're looking for something that's cheap. I mean, it's going to fly all right, but look for a larger opening, so like 2.5 inch cuts, rear expanding, and then whatever green you're shooting with your typical field points.
The thing I would add, though, for the hammerhead, and again, that's not a sponsor. I'm just telling you what I was shooting, but they spun unbelievably. So they
I
would,
do remember those actually spinning.
when
well.
you'd spin them in your hand, and what I'm talking about is tuning a broadhead to your arrow, and I do a little spin test in my hand, and gosh dang, they would spin well.
Yep.
So on where Warren, if he shoots these whopper choppers, he's 10 yards and under, maybe 20 yards. I've heard of a few people that could get them to fly well enough to shoot 20 yards. But if you had to make a follow-up shot or something like that, you could do it with the broadheads we're talking about. where you could shoot 30, 40, 50 yards. It just
Or
like,
Warren's going to have a mixed arsenal in his thing. He's
Oh,
gonna
he was
have-
already planning on that. Probably 3 whopper choppers, two regular broadheads. I mean, Trophy Ridge is going to have to make a bigger quiver for me for turkey season.
They do. I think they make a bigger one.
I need like 4 arrows per bird.
Oh, my Lord.
well, cool.
Hopefully not. Hopefully I'm going to
You'll
have
be
a
good.
remedy this year.
All right. Well, have we covered? Did we? I know this was a question a couple of people had written in asking us to cover this. So we hope this works out. I'm sorry that we got off on a few tangents in our storytelling, but they seem like their stories worth telling. I mean, some of them are to the point, So, but anyhow, questions, comments, please continue to send them in. We love the reviews. We love the sharing of the podcast. The podcast continues to grow, and so we can't thank you guys enough and appreciate you tuning in. And I know it's been 2 weeks now. We've already said thank you once, but going to the Iowa Deer Classic and to other public events and having people walk up and say, I love listening to you guys argue. Today wasn't that big of an argument. Warren kind of just addressed his woes and said, I'll take it like a man. So
Good job.
He took away he took away Easton's ammunition. So, but we appreciate you guys and thank you for watching and listening, and we'll continue to try to provide what we can. So that's the Raised Hunting Podcast signing off.